A very interesting problem. A monkey is descending from branch of a tree with constant acceleration. If breaking strength of the branch is 75% of weight of the monkey, the minimum acceleration with which monkey can slide down is. So it is sliding down, so weight of the monkey will decrease. So this is the branch of the tree, or you can consider it as a row. So breaking strength is 75% the weight of the monkey. So if monkey is sliding down with some acceleration, so let us say this is monkey, it is sliding down with some acceleration. Let us say A is the acceleration. So the value of acceleration should be the tension created in the string should be less than 75%. At the most, it can be 75% the weight of the monkey. When monkey is moving down with acceleration A, its apparent weight will be what? M into G minus A, correct? So apparent weight should balance tension, correct? See, if it is stable, if it is stagnant here, then T is equal to mg, but it is sliding down. So when it is moving down, then its weight will be less than actual weight, right? So m into G minus A should be equal to T. But T is given, it is 75% the weight of the monkey. So mg minus ma equals 75% means 3/4 the weight of the monkey, correct? We need to find acceleration. See, more is the acceleration, lesser will be the tension. That's why they have asked for minimum acceleration, right? Send this MA to other side, 3/4 mg to left hand side. So before that you can cancel m throughout. Now g minus 3/4g is d by 4 is equal to A. So it should be option D. Yes, hope you have taken this. We'll move on to the next one. A rocket of initial mass m0 moving with velocity v discharges a jet of gases of mean density rho and effective area A. The minimum value of V of fuel gas, which enables the rocket to rise vertically above, is nearly. So you need to find minimum value of velocity of discharged gases, which enables the rocket to rise vertically upwards. Options are rho g by m naught a whole to the power half, rho g a by m naught whole to the power half, m naught g by rho a whole to the power half, 2 m naught ga by rho whole to the power half. So it's a rocket case. So it's a system of variable mass. So force on a rocket, we know that it is dm by dt into v. This is thrust force, right? So this is called thrust, right? This is called thrust force. Now what is dm by dt? See, density, area and velocity is given. See, we had used it yesterday also. Area into velocity will give you rate of change of volume. Multiply by density, that will give you rate of change of mass. So this should be equal to dm by dt. Yesterday also we had used it. So for dm by dt I can substitute rho a v. This is dm by dt into v. So that should be equal to rho a p square. This is force. So this force should be equal to what? It should be able to lift off the mass. Mass of the initial mass of the rocket is m naught. Should be able to lift off m naught into g. So that should be equal to rho a v square. So v square equals m naught g by rho a, which implies v equals root of m naught g by rho a, or you can write it as m naught g by rho a whole to the power half. So it must be option C. Yes, of course, you can use dimension concept for this. This is the apt problem to use dimension concept. Hope you have taken this. So move on to next one. A body of 8 kg is moving under the force 3x, F is equal to 3x Newton, where x is distance covered. So force is given as a function of distance. If initial position of particle is x is equal to 2 meter and final is x is equal to 10 meter, what is the speed of the particle? When you move it from 2 meter to 10 meter, what is the speed acquired by the particle? See, here we'll use two concepts. One is work energy theorem. What does work energy theorem says? Work done on a system should be equal to change in kinetic energy, that is half mv square minus half mu square. So here you have to find speed. They have given force as a function of displacement. So first we need to find work, right? But we need to find work. So from work done, we'll get kinetic energy. From kinetic energy, we'll get velocity, right? Yes. So we know that work done is equal to integral of f of x dx from x1 to x2. See, force is a function of displacement. It's not constant. It's a variable force. So we have to go for integration. Now that should be equal to integral of force is given by 3x into dx. X square is from 2 meter to 10 meter. So x is equal to 2 to x is equal to 10. Now integrate this 3x square by 2 from 2 to 10. That will be 3 by 2. You can take it out. 10 square is 100 minus 4. That will be 96. So 48 into 3, that is 144 joule. That should be 144 joule. Now, so let us assume that initial velocity of particle is 0. They have not given anything about that. So we have to assume it to be 0. There is no other go. So half mv square should be equal to w. So v square should be equal to 2w by m. So substitute v square should be equal to 2 into 144 divided by mass of the particle is given 8 kg. So that will be 36, which implies V is equal to 6 meter per second. That is option A. So you are applying force on a particle. Force produces work. Work changes the kinetic energy. So because of kinetic energy change, there will be change in the speed of the particle. See, in principle, you can apply work energy theorem for anything and everything, but you have to apply work energy theorem only. There is no other go when force is variable. When force is variable, there is no other go. You must use work energy theorem. See, yesterday we had one problem where we calculated average force. So there I used work energy theorem, and you wanted me to use V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. From that also you will get, because you are calculating average force. But here they have given force as a function of displacement. So we don't know how average force. So you cannot use V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. If that would have been the case, you could have directly applied it. Right? So whenever force is variable, you have to rely on work energy theorem only. There is no other go. Yes. Hope you have taken this. We'll move on to next. Three blocks of masses 1 kg, 6 kg, and 3 kg are connected by a massless string passing over two frictionless pulleys attached at the two opposite ends of a smooth horizontal surface as shown. What is the acceleration of the system? Given g is 10 meter per second square. Note on the diagram. Yes. Now it is given horizontal plane is smooth. So this plane is smooth. Right? And here the weight is 3 kg, here the weight is 1 kg. So obviously the system should accelerate this way. So let us say acceleration is some A. So if it is accelerating with A, all are connected by string. So this way it should be A, acceleration for 6 kg, and this should move up with acceleration A. Correct? Now we can write equations of motion for each and every object. So for 3 kg, for 3 kg mass, tension is upwards T1, 3 kg weight is downwards. So downward force is more. How do you know? Acceleration is downwards. So what do you get? 3 into G minus T1 is equal to 3 into A, correct? Net force should be equal to mass into acceleration. Downward force is what? 3G. Upward force is T1, correct? Under the action of these two, it is moving downwards. So 3A, net force is 3A, that should be equal to 3G minus T1. Similarly, for 6 kg, what can I write? See, T2 is pulling it backwards. T1 is pushing it forwards. Yes, here this direction should be opposite. So it should be always directed towards pulley. All tension should be towards pulley. So T1 is pulling it this way, T2 is pulling it this way. Under the action of this, it is moving towards right. So T1 must be greater. T1 minus T2 is equal to 6A. We don't know what is A. We need to find that only. Right? Then for 1 kg, T2 is upwards, weight is downwards. T2 must be greater because net acceleration is upwards. So what do we get? T2 minus G is equal to A. Correct? Now add all of them. If you add all of them, T1, T2 get cancelled. 3G minus G is 2G is equal to, so adding all the three, 2G is equal to 3 plus 6, 9, 9 plus 1, 10A. So A is equal to G divided by 5. Correct? So G is 10, 10 by 5, that is 2 meter per second square. That is option B. You can use A is equal to F by M1 plus M2 plus M3 only when you know the force that is acting, net force. But here, net force we don't know. That's why we are doing it. This is easier way. Of course, you can find the net force. Yes, same thing it is. T1 plus MA is equal to T2. See, net force, Newton's law is net force is equal to MA. This is how you have to write. Net force on 6 kg is what? T2 is acting this way, T1 is acting this way. In what direction it is moving? This way. So T1 should be greater than T2. It is not T2 minus T1. T1 minus T2 should be MA. That is how it should be. Right? Yes. We'll move on to next. Potential energy U of a body of mass M is given by U equals AX plus BY, where X and Y are position coordinates of the particle. Then net force acting on the particle is. See, if potential energy is given, X component of force is given by okay. Similarly, Fy is minus du by dy. Du by dx you will get A. Du by dy you will get B. So minus A minus B. So F should be square root of Fx square plus Fy square. That should be root of A square plus B square. That is option B. It is not A plus B, it should be root of A square plus B square. Remember, it is a vector. So net force is what? Minus AI cap minus BJ cap. This is net force. Magnitude is this. Again, magnitude only as the option. So take that. Yes. Hope you have taken this. Shall move on to next. A 40 kg slab rests on frictionless surface and a 10 kg block rests on the slab. If mu s is 0.6 and mu k is 0.4, between the box and the slab, block and the slab it is. So it is mu s. Mu s is coefficient of static friction is 0.6, mu k is 0.4. Then find the acceleration of the slab when force of 100 Newton acts on 10 kg block horizontally. We need to find the acceleration of this. So with what acceleration it will move. If there is any acceleration, it should be towards the direction of force only. Let us say acceleration is A. See, when 100 Newton force acts on it, so frictional force acts opposite to it. Frictional force will act opposite to the direction of relative motion. So what happens? 100 minus frictional force. Frictional force is kinetic friction. It has started moving. So mu k into mg. Correct? Frictional force is mu k into mg. That should be equal to, see, if force acting on the slab is F, then the force on slab should be equal to its mass, that is 40, into acceleration A, correct? So what is the net force on it? 100 Newton in the forward direction, mu k into mg in the backward direction. This should be 40 into A, correct? So net force is equal to mass into acceleration. Mass of the slab is 40 kg they have given. Acceleration we have assumed it to be A. So acceleration is this way, force is this way. So this force is producing acceleration, right? So this force is trying to pull the block this way, but friction between the two blocks is trying to pull it backwards. Correct? So 100 minus mu k into mg should give you 40 into A. See, this mass is this, not 40 kg, because friction depends on the mass above it, not below it, right? So now substitute for it. So it should be 100 minus mu k is 0.4 into mass is 10 kg into g is 9.8 equals 40 into A. This will be 100 minus, this will be 4 into 9.8 is 39.2. So 40A is equal to 60.8. So A is equal to slightly greater than this 1.5, right? Dhanyata, it is already moving. When it is moving, where does the static friction comes? You have to take kinetic friction only. So this information is useless. This is not needed. See, if we calculate static friction between the two surfaces, static friction will be mu s into mg, correct? That should be 0.6 into 10 into 10. So that will be 60 Newton. But applied force is 100 Newton. So F is very much greater than Fs. So there is no static friction. What kind of friction acts between? So it is only kinetic friction. So we took kinetic friction. Yes, weight of 10 kg block only we have to consider, because there is friction between two surfaces, not between slab and the horizontal surface. Horizontal surface is smooth. Forty kg slab rests on frictionless surface. So this surface is smooth. I'll show it in blue. This surface is smooth. Friction exists between block and the slab. Yes. Hope you have taken this. A block of mass m lying on a rough horizontal plane is acted upon by horizontal force P and another force Q inclined at an angle theta to the vertical. Theta with the vertical. Block will remain in equilibrium if the coefficient of friction between block and surface is. It's not is, it should be if. So for the block to be in equilibrium, what should be the coefficient of friction? So draw a diagram for this. The block. So rough surface, that means there is friction. A horizontal force P is applied on it. And another force Q, it is inclined at angle theta with the vertical. So this angle is given theta. This is Q. So what are other forces acting on it? mg and normal reaction in this direction. See, apart from these two, there is component of Q in this direction. This will be Q cos theta. I'll write here. And this way it will be Q sin theta. Notice one thing here, theta is measured with respect to vertical. That's why cos theta, sin theta, they get interchange, right? So of course, frictional force should be this way. So frictional force is what? Mu s into N. If block is in equilibrium, it is static friction only, right? So mu s into N, that should be equal to mu s. Here they have given force Q is inclined at an angle theta to the vertical. So that means this is what they mean, right? So mu s into N is what? N should balance this Q cos theta plus mg. So it should be mg plus Q cos theta, right? So this should be frictional force. This frictional force should balance applied force. So applied force F is what? P plus Q sin theta, right? Now at equilibrium, F should be equal to, applied force should be equal to frictional force. So it should be mu s into mg plus Q cos theta equals P plus Q sin theta. So mu s should be equal to P plus Q sin theta divided by mg plus Q cos theta. That is option E. We shall move on to next one. Inertia is the property of body linked to tendency of a body to change its position, to change its direction, change the momentum, to resist any change in its state. Very simple one. So inertia is to preserve its state. So it must be option D. So it should resist change in its state. That's the meaning of inertia. Yes. What the next one? Which motion does not require force to maintain it when friction is absent? Uniform circular motion, elliptical motion, uniform straight line motion, projectile motion. So in the absence of friction and any other force, which motion is possible? See, from Newton's second law we have F is equal to ma. When F is equal to 0, A is equal to 0. Acceleration is 0 means dv by dt equals 0. So velocity is constant. Now put vectors on each. So velocity is constant means both magnitude and direction are constants, right? So if velocity is constant, it has to maintain same direction. That means it is possible only in uniform straight line motion. So uniform motion along a straight line. So it has to move with uniform velocity along a straight line. That's the only motion that is possible. See here, rest of the questions are very easy. So they're all concept based. Just rush through it. A stone is thrown out of accelerated train, then acceleration of the stone at any instant depends on force acting on it at that instant, acceleration of the train, both A and B, none of these. So stone is thrown out of a accelerating train. Acceleration of the stone depends only on force acting on it at that instant. Right? So acceleration at any instant depends on force at that instant. So it must be option A. It doesn't depend on previous history. Right? At that instant, whatever force is acting, that only matters. Yes. Shall move to next. A reference frame attached to Earth is an inertial frame. By definition, cannot be an inertial frame because Earth is revolving around the sun. Is an inertial frame because Newton's laws are applicable. Is an inertial frame because the Earth is rotating about its own axis. See, inertial frame means one which does not accelerate. So inertial frame is the one which does not accelerate. So Earth cannot be an inertial frame because Earth is revolving around the sun. So it must be option B. So when it is moving around the sun in a elliptical or circular orbit, there it has centripetal acceleration. So because of that, it's an accelerated frame. So inertial frame is the one which will never accelerate. Right? Yes. Shall move to next. The direction of impulse is same as that of net force, opposite to that of net force, same as that of initial velocity, same as that of initial velocity. See, impulse is what? Force into time. That is nothing but m into v minus u. Correct? Change in momentum. So according to Newton's second law, force and change in momentum are in same direction. Either you can get it this way, or force into time is impulse. Time has no direction. Whatever is the direction of force, Same is the direction of impulse. So it should be A. Right? Yes. Towards the end, we have some little complicated questions. We'll take up that also. We'll just rush through this. In which of the following cases net force acting on the body is 0? A car moving with uniform velocity, a book lying on table, both A and B, none of this. See, net force acting on the body is 0 means, see, F is equal to MA. So if F is equal to 0 implies A is equal to 0. That means velocity is constant or velocity is 0. Both are possible. So in this case, velocity is 0, right? Book lying on the table, right? Which generally happens, right? Most of the time, book will be lying on the table until and unless there is an exam, right? Following Newton's first law, right? Then the second thing, car moving with uniform velocity. So here velocity is constant. In both the cases, force is 0, right? So it should be both A and B. Answer should be option C. So this should be answer. So body is at rest or moving with uniform velocity along a straight line. So both are the cases of 0 force. Right? Yes. Shall we move on to next? Swimming is possible on account of first law of motion, second law of motion, third law of motion, Newton's law of gravitation. This is very simple. Yes, it's your favorite, Newton's third law of motion. So you push the water, water will push you back, push you forward, right? You push the water backwards and water will push you in the forward direction. So it must be Newton's law. For every action, there is equal and opposite reaction, right? Simple one. Next. Rocket engines lift a rocket from Earth surface because hot gases with high velocity push against the air, push against the Earth, react against rocket and push it up, heat up the air which lifts the rocket. So this is also simple. So release of hot gases is action. So react means it is not chemical reaction here. So will be reaction force. So because of that, rocket is pushed, right? So rocket pushes the gases, gases will push the rocket. That's it. So it must be option C. Yes. Hope you have taken this. Next. A body whose momentum is constant must have constant velocity, force, acceleration, all of them. So if momentum is constant, it should not have acceleration, should not have force. Force must be 0, acceleration must be 0. So velocity should be constant. Very simple one. Right? Yes, most of you have answered it correctly. Yes. Okay, shall move further. Yes, interesting question. A rectangular block is placed on a rough horizontal surface in the two different ways as shown. Then friction will be more in case A, in case B. In both the cases, it is equal. Friction depends on relations among its dimensions. Yes, this is a very important concept here. So friction between the two surfaces does not depend on area of contact, right? So friction does not depend on area of contact. So in both the cases, it will be equal. Must be option C. Friction depends on only nature of surfaces, so it doesn't depend on area of contact. Yes, we shall skip few questions. We'll go to question number 33. So these questions are easy. You only can answer them. They're simple. Let us take this. A block of mass m, mass 4 kg, is suspended through two light spring balances A and B. Then A and B will read respectively 4 kg and 0 kg, 0 kg and 4 kg, 4 kg and 4 kg, 2 kg and 2 kg. See, very simple. Forget this. So from this spring, 4 kg is hanging. So this must reach 4 kg, 100% sure. Correct? Then, now consider A. A is a spring balance. Then B is massless. So this is A. So this is massless. So I'll show it as a block here. This is B. Then there is one more mass. This is 4 kg. Now what is the net weight suspended from A? It is 4 kg only. Right? It is 4 kg only. So both should read 4 kg, 4 kg. Correct? Or else you can say they are connected in series. In series, weight remains same, force remains same. Okay, what is the weight suspended from A? B is 0, massless. Two light spring balances. Spring balance doesn't carry any mass. Right? Spring balance doesn't carry any mass. So only this weight is acting on it. So how much weight is stretching A? It is 4 kg. So it will read 4 kg. Right? Yes. Hope you have taken this. Shall move to next. A force F acting on a particle of mass m is indicated by force time graph as shown below. Change in momentum of the particle over the time interval from 0 to 8 seconds is 24, 20, 12, 6. So I need to find change in momentum. See, change in momentum is nothing but impulse, that is force into time. Right? So this is what you have to find. So this is force versus time graph. Area under this should give you impulse. So if you calculate that, you will get change in momentum. So this area plus, in fact, minus this area plus this area. Correct? This is minus because one of the coordinates is negative. Right? X is positive, Y is negative. Right? So what do you get? Area of triangle is, so if into T is equal to area of triangle is what? Half into base is, this is 2, height is 6, minus this is minus 3, this is 2, 3 into 2, correct? Plus this is 3, this is 4, 3 into 4. That will be 2 to get cancelled. 6 minus 6 plus 12. That should be 12 Newton per 12 Newton second. That is option C. So area under FT graph gives you change in momentum. Hope you have taken this. Shall move to next. See, area below x-axis should be taken as negative. Next. N bullets each of mass m are fired with velocity v per second from a machine gun. Then force required to hold the gun in position is. See, what force bullets exert on gun, same force you have to apply on gun to hold it. Otherwise, it will recoil. Okay. So forces should be equal according to Newton's third law. So what is the force exerted by bullet? That should be mass into change in its velocity divided by time taken. This is by one bullet. There are n bullets are fired per second, so it should be n times. So that should be n into m into final velocity is v, initial velocity is 0, time taken is 1 second. So that should be equal to n m v. So this is the force required to hold it. So this is what force exerted by bullet on gun. This should be equal to force required to hold it. That is option D. So we'll go to last question. The rest of the questions, that kind of questions we have discussed already. Question number 40. This is also easy one only. Bridge is in the form of a semicircle of radius 40 meter. Greatest speed with which motorcycle can cross the bridge without leaving the highest point is. So bridge is something like this. So at highest point, it should not leave the track. So for that to happen, what should happen? So downward force and centrifugal force should be balanced, right? So centrifugal force is mv square by r. Downward force is mg. They should balance. Mv square by r should be equal to mg. So v square is equal to rg. Mm get cancelled. So v is equal to root of rg. So substitute and simplify. Should not leave the track means. So weight should be balanced by centrifugal force. Or centrifugal force should be balanced by weight. If centrifugal force is more, how do you increase this? By increasing velocity, then it will go out of the track. So that is equal to r is 40, g is 10. So that should be 400. That is 20 meter per second. That is option D.